During a summer blackout, my neighbor asked me to stay. When the lights came back, her robe was gone. The hottest night of the summer was also the night I learned that darkness doesn't just hide fear, it reveals the people willing to stand beside you when everything else disappears. When the entire neighborhood sank into silence after a massive blackout, I thought I was only walking next door to help a frightened neighbor. I had no idea that by sunrise, 2 broken lives would begin healing in ways neither of us ever expected. Before we continue, if you believe kindness still has the power to change lives and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us keep bringing real, emotional stories that remind us humanity is still alive. My name is Ethan, and at 32 I had become an expert at pretending everything was fine. From the outside, I looked like an ordinary man living alone in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Inside, I carried the weight of losing both my parents within 2 years, a failed engagement, and the loneliness that slowly settles into empty rooms until silence becomes louder than any conversation. Every evening after work I watered the small garden my mother once loved, hoping that caring for something living might somehow keep a piece of her alive. That July had been brutally hot. Even after sunset, the air felt heavy enough to steal every breath. Fans ran constantly, air conditioners struggled, and neighbors barely stepped outside except to collect their mail. Across the street lived Claire, a woman in her late 20s who had moved into the neighborhood only a few months earlier with her little daughter, Lily. She smiled politely whenever we crossed paths, but there was always sadness hiding behind her eyes. The kind of sadness that doesn't disappear even when someone smiles. Everyone knew very little about Claire. Rumors traveled through the neighborhood faster than facts. Some said she had escaped a difficult marriage. Others believed she had lost someone close. I never asked because grief deserves privacy, and I knew what it felt like when strangers wanted answers your heart wasn't ready to give. Around 9 that evening, the entire neighborhood suddenly went dark. Every light vanished. Every air conditioner stopped humming. The silence felt almost unnatural before being replaced by distant voices and children wondering what had happened. My phone confirmed what everyone feared. A major power station had failed, and electricity might not return until morning. Within minutes, the heat inside my house became unbearable. I stepped outside hoping for a breeze that never came. The moon offered just enough light to see silhouettes moving across front yards. Then I noticed Claire standing on her porch, holding a flashlight with trembling hands. Lily clung tightly to her leg, frightened by the darkness. Claire looked toward my house before quietly walking across the lawn. She explained that Lily was terrified of thunderstorms and blackouts after a frightening experience years earlier. The darkness brought back terrible memories, and staying alone felt impossible. She simply asked if I could stay nearby until the power returned because having another person close made her daughter feel safe. I agreed without hesitation. We sat together on the front porch while the neighborhood disappeared beneath a blanket of darkness. We talked about ordinary things at first. Favorite books. Childhood summers. The smell of rain before storms. Slowly the conversation became more personal. Claire admitted that she and Lily had spent months rebuilding their lives after leaving an emotionally abusive relationship. Every loud noise, every unexpected blackout, every moment of uncertainty reminded Lily of nights filled with fear. Claire confessed that being strong every single day had become exhausting. Listening to her reminded me that pain rarely announces itself. Sometimes the strongest people are simply those who keep moving despite carrying invisible scars. As the hours passed, the heat became unbearable. Claire apologized because she had spilled water while trying to cool Lily down. She disappeared inside briefly to change into dry clothes while I remained on the porch watching over the little girl, who had finally fallen asleep wrapped inside a light blanket. A few minutes later another neighbor began shouting for help. An elderly man several houses away had collapsed from heat exhaustion. Without thinking, Claire and I rushed toward the house. We found several neighbors already gathering with flashlights. Someone called emergency services while others searched for bottled water and wet towels. For nearly 30 minutes everyone worked together despite the darkness. Young people carried supplies. Older neighbors comforted one another. Complete strangers became a family simply because someone needed help. When the ambulance finally arrived, relief spread through the entire street. As we slowly walked back toward Claire's house, the electricity suddenly returned. Streetlights flickered to life. Porch lights glowed one after another. Air conditioners hummed again. Claire looked down and realized she had rushed outside wearing only a simple house robe over her clothes after changing quickly in the darkness, and during the chaos she had taken it off to wrap it around the elderly neighbor who was shaking from dehydration before the paramedics arrived. She laughed with quiet embarrassment when she noticed it was gone, then smiled because she remembered exactly why. In that moment I realized something beautiful. The headline anyone could have focused on was that her robe was gone when the lights came back. The truth was far more meaningful. It wasn't lost because of carelessness. It was gone because compassion mattered more than appearances. The paramedics later handed the robe back after thanking everyone for helping save valuable time before they arrived. Claire accepted it with tears filling her eyes, not because of the robe itself, but because for the first time since moving into the neighborhood she no longer felt alone. Over the following weeks, something remarkable happened. The neighbors who had barely exchanged greetings began sharing meals together. Someone organized weekend cookouts. Another family started checking on elderly residents during heat waves. Children played together without parents worrying because everyone looked after one another. Claire slowly began smiling more often. Lily started laughing again, riding her bicycle across the sidewalks with confidence instead of fear. The little girl even planted flowers beside my mother's old roses, saying neighborhoods looked happier when gardens bloomed together. Watching those flowers grow reminded me that healing isn't dramatic. It doesn't happen overnight. It grows quietly through countless small acts of kindness that most people never notice. Months later another summer storm knocked out the electricity. This time nobody panicked. Within minutes neighbors carried candles, flashlights, snacks, and cool water from house to house. Children laughed instead of crying. The darkness no longer represented fear because everyone knew they would face it together. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes kindness still exists, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support allows stories like this to continue reaching people who may need hope today. Before we reach the ending, tell us in the comments, have you ever experienced a moment when a stranger's kindness changed your life forever? We'd truly love to read your story. That unforgettable summer blackout taught me something no amount of sunshine ever could. The brightest light isn't electricity. It isn't found in street lamps or glowing windows. The brightest light is the compassion people choose to share when someone else is living through darkness. Sometimes all another person needs is someone willing to stay. And when we choose kindness over comfort, fear overcomes its grip, lonely hearts begin to heal, and ordinary neighbors become family. That night, the lights came back, but the greatest thing we found wasn't power, it was hope.